Dennis Schroder has gotten into the mainstream NBA media once again, and it's not for his fantastic Olympic basketball play. It's actually for a little insight that he shared about the difference between international basketball competition and the NBA. And apparently, Kevin Durant had something to say about that. Now, if I'm honest with y'all, I'm not mad at either. I think Dennis Schroder was right, and I think Kevin Durant was right. I want to dive into that in this video. But first, before I do, this video is being brought to you by Bridges and Stones Family and Relationship Care. If you or someone you know is struggling with their mental health or relationships, go to bridgesandstones.com for a free consultation. Remember, one small act can create a better tomorrow, and none of us make it alone. You know, something that I've said many times on this channel is that one of the major differences in how the international sports world is set up from the United States is that internationally they separate school and academics from athletics. Internationally, how they have done this is by creating club teams. These club teams run very much so along the same lines as AAU. There's just a lot more structure in place because they've been doing it a lot longer, right? They never bridge the two between schools and sports. And so they've been doing this for the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years, right? The United States has been running most athletes through public school systems and private school systems most of this time. And so you get people who are focused on academics trying to then create structure and support for athletics. And they've kind of failed. They have kind of failed. They have set up what we have experienced today. And I know a lot of people want to blame AAU, but let's be clear. AAU is a progression from something else. It is an attempt to improve upon what was. And what was a bunch of English and science and history teachers and math teachers and geography teachers trying to tell athletes how they should best engage with their bodies and develop. And it's been a shit show. A whole bunch of athletes have gone by the wayside, have lost opportunities, have not been in healthy spaces to actually maximize their talent and abilities because a teacher doesn't like how a kid is talking in class and never considers that maybe they're not the best teacher in the first place, right? Maybe they haven't figured out that maybe, they shouldn't be at this public school as a teacher who maybe doesn't get this community. All that's to say is that it wasn't really a strong structure, nor was it very effective. But yet we've had some great talents matriculate and find their way through. And yet most NBA players can point to one, two, three, four players they knew growing up who were way better than them and never had an opportunity, never got the chance, couldn't make the grades. And so a big difference between the two is that they've separated them. And that allows them to have put in more intentional structure around the development of athletes separate from the development of students. Now, the next part of it is that within that development, within that structure, a lot of these club teams are attached to professional club teams, meaning that the professionals, it would almost be like the Golden State Warriors have a G League team that plays in Santa Cruz. It would be dope if they moved up to San Francisco, or even at least Oakland. Come on now, go back to the Coliseum. But have a G League team, and then let's say they have a 19 and under team, right? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine a 19 and under team? And then maybe they have two more levels under that, 16 and under, maybe 13, 12 and under, right? And all of a sudden now they begin to matriculate all this talent that's in this Bay Area, right? This vast area and say, hey, you know what? If you want to come play with us and you're really good, we want to kind of get you in the lines of development. And we'll actually put you in a position where we can throw some resources behind you. And if you're really talented, maybe you can, get paid a little bit. Maybe you can have more access to agents and NILs. That's name, image, and likeness, to be able to make some money off of your gameplay, right? Maybe we can structure this so that we can keep you in the pipeline so that if you continue to become great, you can graduate straight up into this main club. That's how Luka Doncic, that's how Ricky Rubio, that's how Nikola Jokic, all these great international players went through this farm system. And they had structure from the very beginning. The moment they stepped foot, what were they trying to teach them? How to be a superstar? How to be the next James Harden and Stephen Curry? No. You're trying to teach them how to shoot a basketball correctly, how to balance it on your fingertips, how to make sure that the seams are up, right? How to make sure you throw a proper chest pass, a post entry pass. How do you seal somebody on a post up? Proper footwork. How do you set a screen correctly, right? They're learning the nuanced fundamentals that allows you to then grow your talent through. And this is a major difference. Most of our AAU is trying to get away from this hyper scrutinized, overly structured, scholastic basketball setting, athletic setting, where kids are not, young adults are not learning the fundamentals or just not getting a chance, right? When you have a science teacher who's then teaching PE and then decides to pick up and coach the basketball team, that's all well and good. That's dope that somebody decided to take the little $1,200 or $600 stipend for that season and coach the team. That's totally dope. It's even better when you have someone who's played collegiately or professionally at some level who decides to get paid a full-time job to develop young athletes. See, there's a huge difference. Science teacher who's picking up drills online versus a professional who's retired who wants to give back and create structure for young athletes. Worlds apart. Worlds apart. Then the next component of it is what this does for these talents as they get older, what it does for them. And one of the significant differences between the NBA and international play is that they base their style of play around these fundamentals. They create advantages that puts the defense, or they create offensive advantages that puts the defense in a compromised position, whether it's using speed from the perimeter, whether it's using size on the interior, setting screens, whether it's moving without the ball. All these different components are utilized on an ongoing basis to maximize creating advantages. And the players, because they have a strong fundamental basis, they understand how to move together collectively to exploit these advantages. Think San Antonio Spurs with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Bruce Bowen, later on guys like Kawhi Leonard, Robert Horry, right? Who sustained winning for a long time. Why were they able to do this? Because they made sure once they had their superstar player in Tim Duncan, once they had their supporting cast of Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, the only players they cycled into that program were high IQ veteran players, guys who have learned the game to a heightened extent to be able to fill in without having to be taught the basics. This is a major reason why most young teams don't win championships. This is the reason why, if I'm honest with you, most people who really learn the game and love the game of basketball knew that the Minnesota Timberwolves never stood a chance to win a championship. They were not worried about them. At some point, the lack of basketball IQ with Karl Anthony Towns and the lack of experience with Anthony Edwards was going to catch up to them. And I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to take a major step back because they lost Kyle Anderson, a player who has a extremely high level basketball IQ, who understands how to piece things together and be in the right place to make things run smoothly, communicate effectively, challenge guys. We still remember when he challenged Rudy Gobert, and Gobert got super mad, right, on the sideline. But it's to say that he has that veteranship, that pedigree of understanding the game to be able to lead at a high level. They just lost him to the Golden State Warriors. I fully expect the Warriors to have a really, really strong season, and he is a major reason why. But on top of that, what I also see is that many times that we don't realize that there's a learning curve. But there's a major difference when you start that learning curve at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old to learn how to set screens, how to stay wide in transition, how to cut backdoor, knowing when to cut backdoor, how to deliver a backdoor pass from the perimeter, how to use ball fakes when in terms of moving a defense without having to take a dribble, why you don't over dribble, and how that allows the defense to set itself, right? How to utilize your teammates' talents and knowing what they're going to be on the court. I can go on and on about this, that there is a major difference between how international players approach the game of basketball and the United States. And I'll say the United States because we are unique in that realm where AAU has barely opened the door for taking the development of our athletes out of people who are not athletes' hands and putting them in the hands of other athletes and athletic spaces who can focus on that level of development. Look, as much as we want to talk mess about AAU, like I said before, it came from somewhere. But secondly, let's not also forget John Morant came through AAU. Kevin Durant came through AAU, right? Anthony Edwards came through AAU. Some great talents came through AAU. Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, right? Came through AAU. So let's not act like AAU is only developing players like a Mikey Williams. That's not really a shot taken at him. It's just to take, a polar example of somebody who's struggling right now, right? But it's to say that, and I hope anybody who's around Mikey Williams is supporting him, providing him with the care and the love and the attention that he's needing at this time in his life. Prayers up for him. But it's to say that right now, the AAU stage is where international competition and club sports internationally were maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And because we have such a huge database and market of available athletes and players, I think it bodes well for our progress taking leaps and bounds quickly. But what's going to have to happen, seriously happen, is that these AAU club teams are going to have to start organizing and saying, hey, we're just going to have year-round basketball. And we're going to create our own leagues that we're going to compete in year-round, not just tournaments, but leagues that we play in regularly. And we're going to practice regularly indoors, not just outdoors, not just sporadically. And the fee costs, we need to make it reasonable. It can't be this outlandish thing. And I'm actually going to make a business out of it. Like, be upfront. I'm watching this show, Bel Air. I don't know if you guys are watching Bel Air. Great show on Peacock. It's it has the story of Will Smith, and it shows him trying to take an alternative route to the professional game or to college basketball. And he gets with this coach who they almost make him seem like a bad guy. But the reality is, what he's doing is he's stepping into a place of need. He's tapping into a market that's there. Athletes who are not being developed and supported through scholastic spaces. Once again, science teachers should be teaching science, not coaching basketball players and telling them if they're not attentive enough in class that they should not be able to develop their athletic ability, right? We don't tell a pianist who is a musician that they can't practice the piano because they didn't do well in PE. Right? We don't tell the kid who loves carpentry and architecture that they can't learn about that because they're not doing good in history. Right? Athletics is another form of intelligence. It's another form of learning. One should not be penalized because of the other, but that's, nonetheless, I digress. Back to the topic of at hand. But I also agree with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's like, look, hey, I know what you're pointing out, that we have this whole AAU scene and it's still developing and it's at its infancy and it's still improving. And at the same time, we just beat y'all asses. So say what you want about our basketball IQ and how much we entertain. We still got gold. We still got gold. You know what I mean? You feel me? I don't want to say what I felt like saying right now, but I want to be like, yeah, you feel me? Like, say what you want. I just got this gold medal. And you didn't even medal, bro. Now, it's not to take away that he didn't have a great Olympics. I mean, Dennis Schroder had a great Olympics. Germany fell short, fourth place. Serbia got the bronze, France got the silver, United States got the gold. And when you win, you get to basically say, hey, you know what? Say what you want. We're still doing it better than y'all. Now, is it fair the United States is so huge in comparison to all these other countries? No, it's not. I also concede that as well, right? If you take the size of France or Germany and then you piece it to a state, it's about Texas, New Mexico, California, New York, right? And you broke up all the states, that would probably be more of a competitive leveling playing field to competing against the rest of the world, right? Country geographic size of a pool to choose from. But all that's to say is Kevin Durant's not wrong for saying, like, say what you want about us. We still got the goal. But it doesn't discount what Dennis Schroder is saying either. Is that, look, we still have something to learn from them. We need to create spaces. We need to create leagues of our own that is specifically around developing athletes and make it economical, right? Be intentional about it. Don't just have one random coach. A bunch of coaches in a tri-state area get together, create a league, have their club teams, and then learn how to financially monetize it. Have some advertisements, have some companies endorsing, right? Who then get to endorse the players, get your little Nike, Reebok, Adidas, whatever thing for the league, just like the NBA does, and organize it and build it up so that we can make sure that we don't get bypassed. Because if I'm honest with y'all, the fact that we were in such competitive games against France, against Serbia, really speaks to just how much the rest of the world has caught up. Because if a team the size of California had to take the best Californians to go up against the best from Serbia, we would have gotten whooped. Right? The best Californians don't play a high enough basketball. And I'm talking about call it out. You can call out James Harden. You can call out Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and DeMar DeRozan and Russell Westbrook and all those guys who are from California. You can go to Chicago and you can go to Texas and you can go Florida, right? You take the best of those states and you say, even with those NBA players, go face Serbia. You're probably not winning. Go face France. You're probably not winning. And that's a part of the conversation that's kind of been lost here. The United States has been able to rest upon its talent pool. That we have a talent pool 1/5 the size of the continent of Africa. We have a talent pool that's about 5 to 6, if not more, times the size of Western Europe. We are a massive, massive country. So our talent pool is huge. So we can get away with not necessarily, or we have gotten away with not necessarily developing our talent to the same degree as other countries have. So if we were to talk about based upon size, yes, the world has caught up. The world has caught up, and I would dare say they have surpassed the United States. But the great equalizer is the size and the mass of the United States. And our talent pool is so broad that we can bring a LeBron together with a Anthony Edwards, with a Stephen Curry from North Carolina, or from Charlotte, Charlotte, Carolina, right? Or North Carolina. Or we can, bring together with LeBron's from Akron, Ohio, and Ja Morant is from where he's from, right? And we can bring together Jalen Brunson, and we can bring together Kevin Durant from Baltimore, Maryland, right? We could bring together all these dudes. But at the same time, imagine if Western Europe, maybe combine all of Europe, and Europe just said, hey, we're going to put together our international team to face yours. I don't know if we're winning that one. But this is just a conversation. I want to know what you all think. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Definitely drop this video in your group chats. And I'll definitely want to do a live. I might have to hit my boy up on Twitter so we can do a live and actually talk about this topic, because I think it's actually a pretty dope topic. But as always, get at me in the comment section. I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.